Hello and welcome to your backyard, where I'm going to use my backyard to kind of help you make your backyard as productive as possible. Now in today's video we're going to talk about eggplants, where we're going to go through and I'm going to show you two main things: disease control, disease and pest control actually, so kind of three things, because this plant previously had Cercospora, which is like a leaf disease, which could eventually have killed the plant. Also had mealybugs and scale, which I'll show you how to get rid of. And then there's some things we can do to kind of help prevent disease and to make the plant more productive, like pruning. So what we did, which I'll show you very soon, is we removed all the unnecessary leaves so that all the energy went towards fruit growth, and also didn't leave any leaves behind, which could sit there staying wet and damp, promoting more disease. So I'll show you tips how to reduce disease, help grow more fruit, and get rid of pests as well. And subscribe if you haven't already subscribed, because soon I'll do a video where we cut these eggplants in half, get all the seeds out of them, ready for next season. So we'll do that next. But for now, let's get cracking. Now, before we get pruning, I want to do a little bit of pest control on this thing, because as you can see, there's a lot of things being done wrong here. There's leaves still touching the ground or down low where they can easily catch disease, which is probably how the disease has entered this plant, is from the ground. There's lots of dead diseased leaves on the ground just to make sure that the disease does stay in the area, which we don't want. We want to get rid of those. And also, it's just not very open. Like if a plant doesn't have much air or light getting into it, then if it gets wet, it could stay wet. So you always want to promote airflow through the center of the tree or plant as much as you can, because that will help dry out any moist leaves. Any moisture at all will be taken away, and that will help prevent new diseases from catching on or the spread of existing diseases. So we'll do that last. We'll prune it last, and that will also help disease. But first up, let's get rid of the leaves. So we'll do the ones on the ground first. So I'm grabbing those, and I've got a little compost box already here, which will kind of help break down any scraps I've got from the kitchen, but also feeds the worms underneath. You might find some in here. Not at the moment, but yeah, there's a lot in there, lots of food. It kind of helps bring lots of good bacteria into the garden and into the soil. But anyway, I'll do a separate video on this, but usually you would put any food scraps you have in there, throw this cloth over it, which comes from a worm farm usually, wet it, and that will help break down the food, and then you put a cover over it, keep it nice and warm, and stop that moisture from escaping. But anyway, we'll do a separate video on how to build your own one of these eventually. We'll get there. But now, let's get rid of all these leaves. These are nice little disease factories, kind of just, look, blowing diseased leaves onto other plants. Now get rid of as much of that as you can. I should probably be wearing gloves because I can't really see where I'm reaching around right now, but it should be fine. Should be fine. If I die, call the police. No, don't call the police. Call the ambulance. Okay. Now we got to get rid of the diseased leaves. So I'm just going to not use my fingers. We'll use some scissors. There we go. I'm going to put that down for a second. So we've got some scissors here. Now you got to prevent future diseases, or to prevent allowing more disease in, just give them a clean. This is a bottle of soap pest spray, but it's basically soap and dishwashing liquid, like liquid soap and dishwashing liquid put together. That's going to help clean the scissors, just so we're not introducing any new diseases into the stems as we prune. Now let's remove any diseased leaves we see. I'm going to try holding the camera and cutting at the same time. So we're removing these lower branches, which will kind of, if anything touches the soil, it gets too close to the soil, it can cause problems. So it's hard to reach some of these back ones with the scissors, so I'm just going to have to use my hands for some of them. And we're just going to go through pruning as many of these diseased leaves away, because we want to just get rid of them. We want to give the plant a fresh start. A lot of them are falling off too. They're so diseased, they are just ready to fall. So I'll just quickly go through that now and get it looking good. Okay, now we could have been more ruthless with all that leaf culling, but since we're about to prune it afterwards, I think we'll kind of have a look at it with like a pruning eye, and that way we can kind of make sure we're not getting rid of too many leaves, because it's good to remove these leaves to prevent, well, just to kind of help out the plant so it's not having to fight off a disease. But we don't want to take all the leaves because some of them may be useful later on. Now, at the moment, I don't have any problems with crickets or anything, but there are a few diseases around here. Look, there's a beginning of mealybugs. That one there, and then also there's some sort of, oh, can you see it? And if you look here, you can see the plant has scale too, those little kind of beetle-y things, which we can get rid of. And there was one other thing. Oh, and then the Cercospora, which is, you can see these leaves have that kind of mottled black dots throughout it, and the leaves are getting all burnt and curled up around the edges. So that's the main problem, but they can all be resolved using more or less the same, oh, there's one we missed, more or less the same solution. So if it was just mealybugs or Cercospora, even just some dishwashing liquid and liquid soap and water, usually that's enough to kind of choke those off and kill them. And you just reapply that maybe once a week or whenever you see it coming back. But in this case, we're going to go with the neem oil. I've just put in a handy sprayer here and spray that over your plant, and that will kind of do a bit of everything. It's just a bit more versatile, a bit more powerful than just using the cheap and easy soap spray. So, hey, and let me know in the comments below if you have any suggestions or hints for any better ways of doing this, because I'm not the biggest expert there is out there, and there's many different ways of doing things depending on the location where you are, the kind of pests what you have to deal with. So there's a lots of different ways of approaching pest control or pruning, anything like that. So let me know what you think in the comments below. I'm happy to take any hints and suggestions, and then I'll share those in future videos. Now we'll do the other side. There we go. Now I won't be crazy thorough right now because that will make a very slow, boring video for you guys, but I will go and make sure I do all the bottoms of the leaves later on off screen. Now that's kind of helped a lot, but there's one more thing we can do, especially with the mealybugs. Ants can help protect the mealybugs, because what happens, they have a bit of a symbiotic relationship where that's looking good, let's go back, where the ants will give you a bit of a tour as we go. The ants will protect the mealybugs, and in return the mealybugs kind of damage the plant and make sap come out, and that's what the ants eat. So they kind of have a nice relationship going on there, but we don't want ants to be protecting the mealybugs. So easy solution for that, if you don't want to be killing all the ants, which I don't really want to do, is to put some sort of barrier cream at the bottom of the plant to prevent the ants from being able to climb the plant. So in this case, I've got petroleum jelly or Vaseline. That's the main brand of it, but it's just petroleum jelly, and just lather that around the base of the tree, and that will stop any ants from being able to climb up the plant. If you want to do 2 for 1 and get rid of pests, you could also use something like, oh, here we go, ants are already checking it out. You could use something like Vicks Vapor Rub, something with like a really strong kind of mentholy smell to it, because possums hate strong smells like that. It kind of disrupts their ability to sense that there's fruit around. They just kind of stay away from it. So that could maybe work the same way, because they know it's got a very similar texture to petroleum jelly. Anyway, that's pretty good. It's not perfect, but it's good enough. Oh, I hope it wasn't focusing on the jelly there. But as you can see, the base of the tree is now surrounded with petroleum jelly, which hopefully will prevent any ants from climbing up there and protecting those mealybugs. This way, other kind of helpful bugs, like ladybirds or spiders and birds, things like that, can get rid of those mealybugs for us. Okay, now pruning time. Now, as I mentioned, you want to have a nice clean scissors. You don't want to be introducing disease. And the main thing you want to do, you kind of treat it like an indeterminate tomato plant, where you want to get rid of suckers and just promote as much airflow as possible, and probably don't let it branch off too much. Maybe you want to keep maybe 3 or 4 main stems, where the plants will be growing off, instead of just letting it kind of diverge into, or digress into, like about I don't know, 10 or 12 different branches just going everywhere and kind of just not doing so well. So let's take you along for the ride and get rid of anything extra we don't need. So first up, let's take away branches reaching into the center of the tree. So there goes this one. Get rid of him. This is a very, because it's quite a mature eggplant, it's already quite well established. It's a bad time to be pruning. I should have done it way before now. But anyway, there's another one we can get rid of. It's growing into the center. We don't want that. We want the center to be open and airy. Now that's a separate plant growing next to it. I think it is. So for now, I'm going to leave him alone. I don't really know what's happening with him. Now that's going out to the side. It's looking okay, but again, another one here. As you can see, it's growing into the center. And we want light in the center, not shade, so let's get rid of that. And it feels very harmful or very terrible, hurting the tree like that, but you're going to get anything you're taking away now, you're going to get back in nice, healthy eggplants. So it feels like we're doing a bad thing, but really it's going to pay off in the end. Now that's looking okay. The reason I said this was messy earlier is because there's a lot of branches where they shouldn't be, but they've kind of become quite dominant branches, so I don't want to cut them now, especially since this eggplant tree seems to be quite near the end of its life, possibly. Now suckers like this fellow, let's get rid of that. Actually, it's not going to come easily. There we go. Now, any others? There's quite a few little leaves coming through, but not many suckers. I would say that's one there, get rid of him. This guy, get rid of him. There we go, another one there. Now again, there's a lot I should be removing that I'm not, but I kind of have left it too late for this one. There we go. There we are, there's some suckers there. Get rid of those. But usually there'll be a branch going sideways. Hold on, let's put you down for a second. There'll be the main branch going sideways, and then the sucker will be like a diagonal one coming out of the corner there, usually at like a 45-degree angle. So those are the ones we usually want to get rid of, but it's just tricky on this tree, not the best example. But we've still opened a lot more space. Still a lot of leaves down the bottom that we don't want. So let's get rid of these. There's some strange branches growing off down the bottom. Get the scissors. We don't need those. We don't need that. There we go. Now, again, this guy growing towards the middle, but if this main stem dies, then these guys here might keep it going. So I'm going to leave them alone for now. I'd like to cut him too, especially since he's got a bit of disease, but I'll leave him. I don't want to decimate this plant too much. Oh, there we go, little sucker there. I don't know if you can see that. There we go. Now that's probably all right for now. If I had tackled this as a younger plant, I probably would have done things very differently. But that's all right for now. As you can see, the main thing is that we can get lots of light and air into the center of the plant, whereas before it was very crowded with different leaves everywhere. So that's looking good. Okay guys, I hope you enjoyed the video, and we covered two things. So we covered propagation and disease control. So just to summarize, with propagation, you want to get rid of any suckers, get rid of the low-lying leaves, the leaves closest to the base of the plant, and also any like branches poking towards the middle, because you kind of want the center clear as possible to allow the light in and the airflow. For disease, if you can, try to get rid of anything like mealybugs or scale. If you see ants going on the plant, put Vaseline down the bottom. And speaking of Vaseline too, I've never done the Vaseline trick before, so if you know anything about it, or if it works, or any experiences you've had with it, let me know in the comments below. If you've seen anything in this video I could have done better, let me know in the comments below, because I'm always happy to learn and to share any knowledge you've shared with me. But guys, in the meantime, give this video a big Vaseline thumbs up, subscribe if you haven't already subscribed, and also very soon, probably early next week, we're going to do a video about eggplant propagation, where we cut open the eggplants, get the seeds, and store them away ready for another season. So subscribe if you haven't already subscribed. Until next time guys, have a great week, take care of yourself, and I'll catch you next time.